Hey folks, welcome to Real Movies Fake History, a show about movies, history and the truth in between. We have a review.
We do, folks.
We finally, after much talking, got a chance to see Nuremberg, starring Russell Crowe and directed by James Vanderbilt. It's the World War II story where Russell Crowe plays Herman Göring. Very interesting, Mel. We did have some big hopes for this movie, I think.
I was very excited to see this film.
I feel like this is the kind of movie we should enjoy. You know, it's a historical movie. It's got big historical characters. It's about World War II. Well, it's about big history. It is directed by, as I said before, James Vanderbilt. I thought you'd enjoy this, Mel. He's clearly a favourite of yours. He did write one other movie this year. It's one of your favourites. The Fountain of Youth.
I did see that when I was researching this film.
Yeah, so he actually wrote that movie. I know you love that movie. That is one of your favourites. Mel shakes her head.
It's a masterpiece.
Yes, it is. Do you feel, I wonder if my expectations were too high. Now I look back, I wonder if maybe when I saw this movie, when I saw the marketing, you see Russell Crowe, Oscar winner, Rami Malek, Oscar winner, you're thinking, This is the big leagues. We're doing prestige. This is big history. It's 2.5 hours long. This should be amazing.
I think we had every right to have high expectations when a film markets itself with an elite cast. And it's not just Russell and Rami. It is Michael Shannon. It is Richard E. Grant. Like, these are top-rated actors. The conventions of the film in terms of the style, using original footage, trying to make it as truthful as possible, we were allowed to go, we expect something brilliant.
Yeah, I feel you're right. Maybe I'm trying to think to myself, maybe, should I have lowered my expectations? But I feel like I was feeling I should have been blown away by this experience. And I think we came out, the two of us saw it together. We walk out of the theatre, and the first thing we thought of was like, it's not quite there.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's
a C plus.
It's brutally mediocre.
Maybe a B, if you're lucky.
My first thought was slight relief because Russell Crowe is the guy in the poster. And I'm thinking, okay, he's back. This is it. He's got all the crap movies out of his system. He's done a lot of rubbish work. Now we're doing big boy stuff now. And then I saw him and I thought, okay, he is good.
He is excellent in this film.
He's very good.
That acting is not really the problem. I actually think, but I think before we get into our critique, let's set the scene.
Okay, let's do it.
So we start at the end of World War II. Hitler is dead. The Americans are in Germany, and Herman Göring gets his chauffeur to rush through a bunch of refugees and surrender to some Americans. Yes. And because it's Herman Göring, rather than going, I surrender, he says, can you help me with my luggage?
Because that's who he is.
8 suitcases.
Yeah.
Filled with money, jewellery. Also, nearly most of the global supply of a drug called paracodeine.
Okay.
Because Göring was addicted to the stuff.
Okay, right.
He has been a drug addict on and off since the 1920s.
Brilliant. Okay.
And he is not a well man.
No. Immediately you're like, this guy sees himself as royalty in this kind of way. He's almost like, man.
He has a special uniform that he's the only one in the Third Reich that wears it. The blue military uniform. And he has that jewel-encrusted baton.
He's got a big ego. Huge
ego.
Yeah.
And the Americans are like, right, we cannot have this guy die. So we need to wean him off the drugs and put him on a diet.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Herman Göring is the second to Hitler, basically, isn't he? Like, he is basically number 2. Would that be fair?
That's the way they describe it. Look, the leadership was a little bit more fluid. Göring had been losing influence towards the end of the war, but you also have to remember a lot of the other high command were also dead.
Yeah. So we're running out of people here.
We're running out of people. And also, Göring, right at the end of the war, said to Hitler, when do you want me to take over? Hitler cracks it and demands to arrest Göring. SS officers arrive, and Göring, being Göring, just charms them and they don't arrest him.
Because he is charming. That is there. It's in this movie.
And I think it's really important to understand that people like him can get to the top and do horrible, cruel things and get away with it often is because they are charming. They can tell jokes. And one of the things you don't see in this film is he absolutely had a camaraderie with the guards. He and many of the other Nazis would sign autographs for the guards, get things sent into them. Like, it's a different dynamic.
And he's a celebrity, right? I mean, he's a bad celebrity, but he is one, right? Like everyone knows who he is. If he is brought into prison, and there's a little bit about this in Nuremberg, the movie, but you do get the sense that there's a weight to him. So when he not just physically, but like literally.
He's got gravitas.
Yeah, figuratively, when he's walking to the courtroom, when he's walking in his cell, when somebody goes to meet him, there's this sense of like, oh, this is the big character of history, and in a bad way, really. But the charm is there. And I will say, I do get the impression that when you have Russell Crowe and he's there, he's really enjoying the mixture of that horrible narcissism that's deep inside, that's manipulative and cruel, but also he's kind of funny. He can crack a joke. He can have banter with you in this interesting way. Even worse, and the film slightly gets into this, is he can make you, the audience or anyone, like him, which is very strange, isn't it? Right? That's a very interesting feeling to go, if you met him for maybe 10 minutes and you didn't know who he was, he probably would be a very likable individual in his own way.
Of course he is, because how else do you think they can charm the German people, stay in power? Like, of course they are.
Yeah, there's something there. And
people want to think that if they're a bad person or a villain, everything about them is ugly. Their personality, the way they interact, that's just not how often this works.
We want them to be monsters, is what we want, because that makes it simpler. Isn't it? Right?
But life's more complicated than that.
And, for all the critique I'll give on Nuremberg, it does make me feel that strange balance between, I can see why he's likable. I can see why people would go, yeah, he's not a detestable individual. All of the evil, all of the contradictions, all of the hatred, it's all behind a mask that is quite charming and likable. And Russell Crowe inhabits that well, because when he's there, I feel like he's enjoying and getting into the skin of going, I'm going to make the audience feel conflicted about me. I want the audience to get an hour into this movie and go, I actually don't mind spending time with him as a character, which is a very strange feeling.
I think Russell does that very effectively.
Yeah.
But I want to bring in Dr. Kelley.
Douglas Kelley, right?
Yes. Yeah, he's a doctor.
He's a doctor.
Dr. Kelley, a psychiatrist.
Played by Rami Malek.
Yep. And during the war, he had very good success helping soldiers recover from PTSD, or what they really called at the time, shell shock, and able to get them back to the front. So he is seen as a bit of a very successful psychiatrist, which is how he gets brought into Nuremberg.
So he's like one of the people at the top of that list of like the golden psychological people.
Who we could bring in.
Yeah.
From the military. Because you might have noticed we've got both Gilbert and Kelley. They did not bring civilians in there. They're all military people. So Kelley's brought in. He is only 32 during the Nuremberg trials.
Very young.
He's a young man, because often we want to think of these characters as middle age.
Well, I always think when I think of psychiatrists, I think of young and,
No, you think of a 50-year-old man, which is why I've brought up he was only 32.
With a cigar, and a notepad. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but that's not who Douglas Kelley was during Nuremberg.
A very young guy.
This is a young guy who does wear aviator glasses and a leather jacket, because that's what men at 32 did wear in 1945.
And his introduction in the movie took me off guard, because there's an Indiana Jones swagger to him that I'm like, what is this guy? Like, he doesn't.
So he was a magician.
Yeah.
And he did use magic as part of his clinical sessions.
Fascinating.
And his logic was magic is a useful tool to get people to calm down, focus on the trick they're learning to do or they're watching to help them open up a little bit more.
So interesting. Because in the movie, he does many sleight of hand tricks. He does card tricks in the movie too.
All correct. He did do all those things.
So interesting.
And so you've kind of got him, right, Indiana Jones swagger, but he was a cocky man.
Okay.
Now, he was married.
Yeah, okay.
So this movie kind of has this awkward thing with him and the journalist. It never implies that they sleep together.
Yeah.
But it's a bit kind of flirty, weird.
I felt that was quite weak, because in the movie, Rami Malek is, he's got that swagger. He's doing card tricks. I think the first scene actually of introducing, Douglas.
He's on the train.
He's on the train and he's basically flirting with a journalist.
He's not meant to be completely likable.
Right.
So I think here's the problem. The audience wants him to be the good guy.
Yeah.
As a contrast to Göring, and therefore they want him to be likable.
A little bit.
That's not who Kelley is. Kelley is a very flawed man. Basically thinks he can never be wrong, has a huge ego, and he's doing this really to write a book and make money. Like, he doesn't stay for the full trial. And in the movie, they have him basically leaking to a journalist, and that's why he leaves. Basically, in reality, he leaves because he feels like he has enough material and he wants to go home and see his wife.
And publish a bestseller.
Basically.
As the man that, understood the evil of Göring.
So that whole idea of he was going to leave and then he stays to provide insight to Jackson, none of that happens.
So that's not true?
No, it's Gilbert who provides the insight because Kelley's gone.
I mean, you describing this to me is, again, one of the reasons I'm a little conflicted at the movie because, okay, so if you're going to do Douglas Kelley authentically and you're going to have all of these relatively dislikable traits to his character, he's very movie-ish as a character. I mean that literally in the sense that he talks, all the dialogue that Rami Malek has to say is very movie-ish dialogue. It's always clever and a bit witty and a bit interesting and stuff, but he never feels like a rounded human to me. He does feel like a caricature of a very eccentric human being. So it made me hard to relate to him because none of his emotions feel...
He's not meant to be relatable.
Yeah, he's not very authentic, I feel like. You know what I mean? He feels very...
He's just the psychiatrist. He's not the hero of the story. And I think this is why this movie doesn't work.
Right.
They want it to be a competition between Kelley and Göring, and it's not.
Yeah.
This is Nuremberg and the trials. This is about Jackson and Fife and the French prosecutor, who we do not see in the movie, the Soviet prosecutor, who we don't see in, all the other attorneys and the 300,000 documents. This is what the movie's meant to be about.
Well,
instead you have this stupid scene with Kelley and Göring where basically Kelley's realised that Göring has lied to him.
That was so bad.
Of course Göring has lied to Kelley.
That's what he does.
And but this is also what happened in real life. Like, Kelley's flaw through bits of Nuremberg is he forgets that people lie because he's so arrogant. He thinks his tests are foolproof.
Right.
And that he has genuine insight into their psyche. And his genuine weakness is that these people lie. Of course they lie.
And people that haven't seen the movie, obviously, they might think, well, listen, this is a battle of wits, an intellectual battle between a psychiatrist trying to understand the core truth of an evil man and an evil man manipulating a situation to never reveal the truth either. I thought it would be, a lot of movies, and you'll know which ones I mean, a lot of movies can be based on the drama of, say, an interview. The interview, the interview that's going to reveal something, the interview that's going to...
scoop.
Yeah, it's going to unearth an element of humanness to explain why something happened, and it's going to give us insight. And so the movie markets nearly the idea that this is a battle to find out the truth at the core that drives Göring and the intellectual battle
but
between
that
two
battle
people.
is really between Jackson and Göring, and Jackson loses.
Yeah.
And he did in real life. He had all sorts of issues prosecuting Göring.
And by Jackson, you mean
Robert Jackson.
Robert Jackson.
So he's the lead prosecutor for the Nuremberg trial.
Yeah.
He was a US Supreme Court justice.
And he's played by Michael Shannon in the movie.
Michael Shannon is brilliant in the film.
Oh, he's very good.
So him not doing very well in the prosecution is absolutely based on historical records.
Okay, that's true then.
So you need to see that awkwardness and Göring running circles around him and the whole little scene where you've got Göring going, this document actually translated does not say final solution, it means something else solution. Throughout the court case, there were lots of badly translated documents. And because Göring had either been involved in drafting these documents or signing them, he knew them better than Jackson. And so he ran circles around him.
And again, he was able to use that to manipulate the proceedings in a way that suited him the best.
But Fife, the assistant lead British prosecutor,
and he's Richard E. Grant.
Phenomenal in it.
Yeah.
He had known men like Göring before and was much smarter with how to play him in the room.
Of course, right? He's got the experience, right?
And so that's how you see him being far more effective. And he's the one who actually successfully prosecutes Göring.
Well, he has that big courtroom moment that a few good men, he's got that moment where he's like, oh, I've got you, Göring. There you go. Göring's, oh, God, he's got me. I'm evil. I really am evil. And there's this wonderful moment where it feels like there's a certain amount of peace brought to the people in the courtroom because they're seeing the real character of Göring.
Now, I want to talk about the trial for a second. Nuremberg, the Palace of Justice, they had a special built courtroom that could allow up to 500 people in there. And they had 4 countries involved. And this is where I always found it quite weird. It's Britain, France, the Soviets, and the US. Poland's not involved. Lots of countries are not involved, even though they were invaded. Belgium's not involved. So it was a very interesting kind of the way it was set up.
Yeah, it was kind of really picked and chosen who would be there.
And one of the things that makes this trial so unique, well, there's 2 things. The first one is crimes against humanity. This was the first time this was ever used in a tribunal, which is really important. And the other bit was the use of film as evidence. So in the movie, you see the big screen that comes down.
Yes.
Now, that footage was genuine footage that they used, and that is a section of a US film. But the Soviets also had a film that was shown in the tribunal.
Okay. To again and
show the evidence of the Holocaust and the terrors and everything else they did.
Yeah, and so that was real. They would have shown that during the real proceedings.
Yeah, I mean, because we only see a few minutes. I think in real life it was over an hour long.
Got you, yeah.
And they did that quite early in the trial. So that movie was called The Nazi Concentration Camps.
Yeah.
And it was entered in evidence in November 1945. So within the first week or 2.
Fascinating.
So it's right at the beginning.
And we're still so early in uncovering that history that, all the people in that courtroom, a lot of them would not have seen that footage, really. It would have been very confronting.
So you have to remember they are seeing this for the first time. And so what they actually did, which you don't really see in the movie, is throughout the course of that film, they turned up the lights so that the prosecutors and the judge and the media could see how the Nazis were reacting.
Fascinating.
Because they'd never seen that footage before either.
Of course.
Which is really interesting because in a regular trial, you generally get to see all evidence before.
That's very true because isn't it
Well, in the British system.
I know even in the American system that there is a thing where you have to present all the evidence in advance or else it could be a mistrial in a way, right?
So this is where this trial is quite weird because you've got 4 different countries with 4 completely different legal systems. They had to merge different legal rules and processes.
Sounds so complicated, actually.
It was complicated, and it's an absolute miracle that the war in Europe finishes in May, and by November, we're at trial.
That's nuts, really.
That's really quick.
I mean, because they're doing it in Nuremberg. I mean, so much of Nuremberg's just destroyed, right? So there's such an interesting thing of we're doing it in the place where all of this has happened. I mean, they still haven't rebuilt so much of the city in any way, really.
Now, I think part of the problem with this film is it's too long.
It is far too long.
And there are a number of scenes which I think basically add very little or nothing.
It is 2.5 hours long.
That could just be cut.
Tell me if you have a list.
I do absolutely have a list. So the first one is the Vatican scene. Jackson going to the Vatican to basically get the Pope on board.
Yeah, I mean, this is literally a scene where Michael Shannon go to the Pope and blackmail the Pope.
It didn't happen.
Is that not true?
Not like that.
He didn't go listen, Pope.
He couldn't get an audience with the Pope before the trial started. And then I think he did get an audience either towards the end of the trial or after the trial. So no, not like that.
Because the film portrays it like he just walks in and then the Pope is there and he's just going listen, buddy.
You were a bit naughty in the 1930s.
Yeah, you were. We could nearly say you were pro-Nazi at one point. So don't.
So interestingly, the Vatican came out very strongly saying we don't believe they should use the death penalty.
Okay.
Enough people have died.
Right, so no hanging.
Killing more people, not helpful.
I mean,
put them in prison.
It's not a surprise the Pope wouldn't have liked hanging people. That seems to be, I feel that's normal.
And by modern standards of justice, especially in countries like Australia where we don't have the death penalty, we find that kind of it's odd too.
I mean, coming from Europe, I feel it's very strange.
But in 1945, the death penalty was very common.
I feel also like if you're pitching this movie for the money people and you're going, listen, we got a scene where he blackmails the Pope, it's going to be a hell of a movie. People are like, oh, this is good. I mean, it feels like on paper it might have worked, but when you see it, you're right. It almost feels, it's very superfluous in the movie.
This is the aftermath after World War II. There's enough drama here.
Yeah.
You don't need extra.
And the first hour 20, there's a lot of scenes. I'm imagining, I'm going to guess that most of your deleted scenes that you would prefer to take out of the movie are from that first hour and 20.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So the whole Hess story of him fleeing to England.
There's a whole flashback about Rudolf Hess and his crash landing, wasn't it?
Now, it's all true. He did go on an aeroplane on his own without seeking approval from Hitler to try and negotiate that. And yes, he did spend most of the war in prison in the UK.
Okay.
But it's not needed. And the reason why I don't think it's needed is basically once Hess arrives in Nuremberg, the movie basically neglects him for the rest of the movie.
Well, he doesn't have any bearing on the plot at all.
Then why have that story?
I honestly just think he's just like, well, he's a big name in the Nazi party. Let's put him in it too. Yeah, I just feel it feels...
he's less big in the sense because he wasn't there for most of the war. I also think the whole Göring-Kelley confrontation after the Nazi concentration camps film makes no sense plot-wise. And it's just unnecessary. So basically, Kelley has fallen that Göring either didn't think it was that bad or didn't know, and then they see the film and then he confronts him.
It's one of the... It is the one part of the movie that I just struggled with. And it brings me all the way back to why I don't like Kelley at all, is because it almost makes you think Kelley, Rami Malek, goes in to what I think is to have an intellectual battle with Göring. Instead of doing that, he simply just seems to enjoy Göring's company. He does some very light psychological investigatory stuff with him. Here's, hey, look at this Rorschach. What do you think of this? You know, stuff like this, real rubbish stuff. And then seems to just enjoy Göring's company. The most important thing that Kelley does in the movie is be a mailman by transferring letters to and from Göring and his wife, who's nearby.
Factually true.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's almost like Göring from the minute that Kelley meets him is like, he's all right. He's a nice guy. He seems like somebody I could hang out with and just have a chat. He does no major investigations with him at all. And then you're right. It's almost like when they show the concentration camp footage, it's almost more for Kelley's benefit than Göring's, because Kelley's sitting there going, oh, I was duped. I was duped by this guy. Oh, he's really evil. And then the rest of us are sitting there going, are you the biggest idiot in history? Because I could have told you this and I haven't even seen the movie. You know, and so there was something almost annoying about him at that point, because you have this big emotional Oscar-y scene where you've got Rami Malek yelling at Russell Crowe and Russell Crowe yelling back, and it's suddenly the battle of the wits has happened. But it's taken an hour and a half to get there, and all that time has been spent with Kelley kind of kissing his ring before that.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of scenes with both Göring and other Nazis doing what they call the ink blot test. And this was quite a popular test at the times. We now no longer use it.
Because it's rubbish.
Of course it's rubbish.
Yeah, tell me what you're thinking of right now, because of, you know...
What are you actually seeing there?
See?
Again, in no way can you tell if they're lying or not.
No.
But also, just because you describe something on a picture, that means nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing the Rorschach test and other media, and you just look at it and you go, I don't get it. Like,
but at the time, it was accepted form of practice.
Okay, so this is like
so you have to accept it. But again, I don't think that's necessary for the movie. One, because they never submit the results as evidence in the trial.
Yeah.
And two, but it does nothing. It doesn't do anything to help the plot move along.
I mean, it's like, oh, he said the word blood 4 times. He's evil. You know, it's very strange why that test was ever used. Okay, can we agree something? Actually, maybe this is our problem, because I have such a massive problem with the Kelley character, who's the main character for like an hour and a half. Like, I have such a big problem with him that I almost go, I just don't think he's good enough as a character to be the main person in the movie.
So here's the problem. The movie is based on a book by Jack L. High called The Nazi and the Psychiatrist, which I have read.
Okay.
And it is about Kelley going to Nuremberg, his interaction with Göring and the other Nazis, and then his life post-Nuremberg.
Right.
So I suspect what happened is they bought the rights to the book and then they decided they wanted to be faithful to the book.
And tell me, what's your take on the book? Is the book good? Is it better? How does the book hold up?
The book is solid, but I think it's telling a different story. And by that I mean it doesn't finish in 1946.
Right.
There is a whole nother section about what happens to Kelley post-Nuremberg.
So it's more of a life of Kelley, nearly a broader
But with their
arc.
interaction. And I think because of the way Kelley also commits suicide with a cyanide pill, that's where the fascination, at least from a journalist perspective of these two characters.
Yeah, because it's him. So Kelley kills himself in the 50s, I think, or the 60s, with a cyanide pill.
On New Year's Day in front of his wife, father-in-law, and kids.
Oh, that's grim.
Like, it's dark.
That's very dark. I mean, so you're right. From a journalistic perspective, from a book perspective, that's interesting because then that's a parallel to Göring's life. And then suddenly you're asking the question, well, how much influence has Göring had on this man and his mental health? Obviously, the Nuremberg movie that we watched, it touches on that stuff very lightly, but it's really just a coda at the end. It's just words.
But that's because this film is Nuremberg, not Kelley versus Göring.
Göring, yeah.
I think this is part of the problem.
Yeah.
This movie's trying to tell a different story.
Mm.
And I think it gives far too much time to Kelley and not enough time to everything else that's going on in Nuremberg during the trial. Like, I actually think the best scene is when Kelley is with the interpreter, Sergeant Howie Trice, who's a American Jewish translator.
Right.
And what happens to his family.
Because
that's the most important scene in the movie for me.
That's a very interesting scene because you're right. The film almost takes a time out. It's about 8 minutes long, and you have another character just tell their story and how the trial of Göring affects them emotionally and how it's finally.
But also why it's so important to bring these people to justice.
Yeah.
We're not just doing it for some sort of ego or abstract reason. We're doing it because these guys murdered millions.
Yeah.
And should be held account for their crimes.
And you're right. That scene is essentially Rami Malek's character, Kelley, listening to another human being tell him why this is actually important and why it means something.
And why, Kelley, you need to help rather than leave.
It almost displays, though, how unlikable Kelley is in that way, that he needs it explained to him. That this is a character who the film majority focuses on, but it takes, an hour, 20 minutes into the movie before the film goes, do you not realize why this is an important thing? Like, we've spent a lot of time with this guy and we're still trying to get it into his head that this is a big deal. I go even further, Mel. I think the film is almost a little confused whether you're supposed to like Kelley or not. And I mean that.
No, you are meant to be confused because part of the problem is Kelley and Göring had a lot of similarities. Just one happens to commit mass murder. One doesn't. But to be fair, Kelley nearly kills his wife. So in his decline, they're having a huge argument. He pulls out a gun that's in his study and he nearly shoots her. Instead, he shoots the floor instead.
Good Lord.
Like, this guy is really complicated. And he refuses to seek help for his mental decline. He is absolutely an alcoholic. He and his wife used to fight shockingly. And he would treat her badly, but he also would treat his son horrifically.
That's awful.
Like, he's not that's the problem. You want him to be the good guy. He is not.
But I would debate that I think the film doesn't even show him being an anti-hero enough for me to grasp that's the point, Because I think the film is still half looking you to almost like him, but it's obviously, it can't, because as you said, there's too many complexities for the film to get you on that path. I think the film would be better if they're going to have Kelley be the guy that you're going to look at for most of the running time. They need to commit to him being the anti-hero. commit to him being the guy that isn't likable.
And they don't.
And they don't do that. And
So a lot of critiques of the film have been quite damning of Rami Malek.
I
actually think that's unfair.
Okay.
Because of the character and the script he's been given. Like, I think he acts it fine. I just think what he's been given is not good.
I felt initially like that too. I actually was watching him, and during the movie, I thought this is quite a poor performance. I was like quite surprised how. But I agree with you to give some space for other thoughts and for my own ruminations. I feel like he was misdirected because I still and the script's wrong.
Well, it's badly written.
It's badly written. Yeah, correct. So I think a better script and a better point of view and a better director, I think, cools down all his emotions from being too eccentric. Gets you in the door, allows some of those eccentricities of character to come up, when it's an opportune moment for it to do so. But I think just introducing Rami Malek's character as a Indiana Jones swagger, flirtatious guy who does card tricks and doesn't care about anything, I just thought this is a very dislikable way to bring this guy into it. And if you're going to market the movie as an important movie, as a searing, serious movie about real history, just throwing to me a character that doesn't feel believable immediately as soon as I see him, that's a problem. It's a problem.
Is.
Yeah, big problem. And you're right, the writing just feels him entirely. Do you know what's funny? I don't think Russell Crowe's failed. I think a lot of the writing on him is probably quite good. I feel like his dialogue seems pretty good.
Yeah, but every time we tell the story of Nuremberg, Göring and generally Jackson are the main characters.
Yeah.
And this is part of the problem. It should have been more about them.
Yeah, Michael Shannon should have been nearly the lead, really, of the movie.
Because it's not Kelley's story.
And he's not a very good psychiatrist. He's a crappy...
Also, he's not there for a good most of the trial.
They almost make... So you can explain this to me better, but so Kelley's a psychiatrist on his own for a while, and then they bring in the other guy.
They bring in Gilbert, who is also a doctor but is a psychologist.
So
and this is what the movie doesn't show. There's also just like a regular medical kind of GP doctor in the prison. There would have been nurses on the prison because you're looking after a bunch of people. It kind of suggests that like Kelley's the only dude in the medical team, and he's just not. And
as you said, Göring's a very unhealthy man. He needed a lot of attention, I would imagine, to keep him going. But you're right. So Gustav Gilbert, played by Colin Hanks, he's like, the people look at Kelley and they're like, oh, I'm a bit mixed on you. We're going to get this other person in, another psychologist to come in, psychiatrist, to do
No. So we've got a psychiatrist and we've got a psychologist.
Oh, okay. So Gilbert is a psychologist. Oh, okay.
Interesting. Their dynamic. So originally their plan was to write a book together. And then Kelley decided, bugger this, I'm going to do it on my own, and took a bunch of their material that they had both been working on and basically just stole it and took it back to the US.
Fascinating.
And didn't even tell Gilbert he was leaving.
Fascinating. Okay.
Kelley is a douche.
He really is, isn't he? Why, if the film just committed to him being a douche, just do that movie. And I know...
Do you know why they didn't?
Why?
Because... Kelley's son is still alive and was involved with the book and everything else. This is what happens when it's not objective.
So it's sanitized, essentially, isn't it? Oh, that is, yeah.
We had the same problem with Elvis.
Exactly the same problem. I mean, maybe this is what our log line is for this review, because what I'm not saying is that the film feels sanitized. And I don't even know why, Mel, because I never read the book, right? You know the book better than I do. I don't. But when I watch the movie, I can actually feel there's something they're not telling me about that doctor, because he's way too overwritten to be a movie character, and he's not written enough to be a real human being. And a real human being that accepts Göring at face value is really flawed, but they never really get into the weeds of that scene by scene. They never make me look at him and go, this guy's a mess. He's flawed. They actually just keep the facade of him being cool.
That makes sense if the son was intimately involved with the book.
With the book, yeah, which is the film is based on. So fascinating. It's a big problem in this movie. I walked out of this movie and I was like, I feel so confused about Douglas Kelley as a character. I struggle.
What makes this interesting is, in the end, both Gilbert and Kelley wrote books.
Okay.
Gilbert wrote, there's something specifically wrong with these Nazi guys. As
like at a mental level.
like makes them different or makes them unique.
They're different from us.
Exactly.
Got you.
Which is, at the end of World War II, that's what people wanted to hear.
Of course.
So his book was more popular, and because it made people feel safe.
Because people are like, well, we are not them at all.
Exactly.
Got you. I could see why. I mean,
and so Kelley did write the thing, no, they are just like us. This could happen in any specific, circumstances, or this could happen in any society. And of course, the public didn't want to hear it. So I think
so interesting.
what's interesting about this is Kelley was right in that sense. Gilbert wasn't.
Yeah.
But
because the hardest thing is going, they're human beings. The Nazis are just people. And it's a few times where it comes up where they're like, Göring's just a person. That's the thing we're not getting.
But the thing that people forget is human beings can do both good things and terrible things. And they can often do that in the same day.
I know.
Like you want them to be one or the other, and that's not just how people work.
I love that. That's a great insight you gave to that the fact that the Gilbert theoretically is the better psychologist, but, fundamentally misunderstood the idea that we are closer to that evil than we like to admit.
But can you blame him after the horrors of World War II? And he's also a military man himself.
Yeah.
That maybe he couldn't comprehend that.
Yeah, you want a strong demarcation line between the Nazis and everyone else.
I think that's understandable.
Yeah, I actually agree, especially so close to the history. Like, the closer you are to the history, the more you need that. It's so interesting.
They in the movie have a stupid little tussle. Not factually true.
So that's not true.
No.
It's the funniest line in the movie, isn't it? Where, like, is it John Slattery who plays, Burton or Andrus? He says, like, you guys are the mental health professionals. And they're, like, beating the crap out of each other. It got a laugh in the audience, and it is a very good and witty line.
I thought John Slattery was really good.
I think he is very good too. I think he has some lines of dialogue that are a bit iffy, but I think he is a consummate cracker of an actor.
You believe that he knows how to run a military prison. In the movie, we have a scene where Kelley demands he wakes up in the middle of the night and makes some phone calls because Ada, Göring's daughter, has been taken away from Emmy, his wife, and sent to the Catholics. Emmy's been put into an internment camp and Ada's been separated. No contact allowed.
Fascinating, right? Okay.
And Göring's not happy, as you could imagine.
I'm sure he wouldn't be.
Now, this is a little bit more complicated, as you would expect. So, because of how wealthy these people were, yes, they stole the money, but they had lots of money.
So, sorry, the Görings
The
were wealthy?
Görings,
They're very wealthy.
Yeah, because they stole money, they stole art.
Yeah.
They stole things from Jewish businesses. That makes you a wealthy person.
It does, yeah.
So, when Emmy is taken to an internment camp, she is taken with her sister, her niece, and a servant. Because they've got stuff. Now, when Ada is taken to the Catholics, Ada is also sent with her nanny.
Right.
She's not there on her own.
Well, this doesn't sound so bad.
I mean, it's still bad and problematic, but also,
It's worse.
Emmy was married to a Nazi. Now, she wasn't just automatically released the next day.
Okay.
Emmy spends 14 months in an internment camp.
Okay.
She is trialed, and they've determined she had to serve 12 months. Because she'd already served 14 months, she was released straight away.
And what was the sentence for? Was it just because you're a Göring, you need to go to prison?
No, well, the artwork that was stolen.
Oh, I see, okay.
And a bunch of other stuff. You have to remember,
I mean, so many crimes in there. Right?
Emmy Göring and Magda Goebbels, Joseph Goebbels' wife, they were basically the first ladies of the Third Reich. Because Hitler didn't have a wife.
Right. Yes.
He marries Eva Braun the last couple of days, but she was certainly not a public figure.
No, not until the end.
So these women are involved with propaganda, with all sorts of things. They're not civilians.
Yeah, they're official. They're the ladies
So
of
of course she was going to be put in an internment camp.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's good. I feel like it sounds like it was good. I just wouldn't have given her a servant or something like that. That sounds a little much, but this is...
But in the 1940s, for wealthy people, this was normal.
So yeah.
Because Göring, in reality, cracks it because his valet isn't allowed to come to prison with him.
In this movie, there's almost no insight into that complexity to the Göring family at all.
So, Göring, all about power plays. One of his power plays was his refusal to clean his cell. He just refused. And eventually the prison buckled and they had one of the staff members clean his cell.
I mean, would he have ever cleaned anything in his life? Maybe not.
No, but he's trying to have a power play.
Yeah, it's about him going because he's running out of things to have power over, so this is one thing he can control. Right, okay. That's quite funny. That's not in the movie, I should say.
No.
I think that'd be pretty funny if you walked into Göring's cell and it's like a complete mess and they're like, don't touch anything. It's a power play. Yeah, fascinating. I feel very unpassionate about how they depict the Göring family in this. I feel it's not even a B plot. It's like a D plot. Rami Malek's character, Kelley, they seem to insinuate some sort of weird relationship between him and Göring's wife, but it's never really.
I wouldn't have said it was weird, because the truth is he did go and meet her and then he did pass letters.
And he seemed to like them a lot, and he seemed to be like very supportive of them in his own little way. And I don't know, it's a weird thing. It never really is explained that this is a conflict.
I couldn't tell how much that had to do with, in the 1940s kind of psyche, that women aren't responsible for anything because it's a man's world.
Of course, right. So
and therefore, of course, you should be nice to the wife because you're always nice to ladies.
I see. Okay.
I don't know if that was because that kind of fed into the whole thing of like him saying to the prison warden, I thought we were better than this.
Because it brings me to the fact that I remember thinking this, right? For the first hour of the movie, every time Rami Malek walks in a room, he's smiling. And I don't mean like a little like, oh, smile. I don't mean like a subtle Harrison Ford corner of the mouth thing. Like he's beaming. I mean, he walks into the Göring household and he's like, I am super happy to be here. And I just was watching it going like, I don't get this.
So remember, he's trying to get intel for his book. So he's on a charm offensive.
Maybe, but it's not very clear, I think. I think it's very unclear that that's what he's doing, though. Because if the movie's showing you him going home and writing it all down and going, I'm getting this all on paper, but it doesn't do that.
His son is involved, so it's sanitized story.
Very sanitized. Like, all I'm seeing is Rami Malek walking about and being happy.
Happy-go-lucky 32-year-old.
And I'm like, this is not that movie, right? You know, like he's not supposed... I was desperate for somebody to just sit there and just be complex visually in their emotions, because he's so one note in this.
So let's talk about Richard E. Grant's character, Fife, because he is complicated.
He's very good. And
he's got his alcohol in the teacup.
That's good. Yeah, I like that. I actually enjoy that, like, you know, they establish that he brings this teacup into the courtroom that's full of, like, you know, pretty strong liquor.
Whiskey, probably.
Probably whiskey. And, like, there's that point where Robert Jackson, who's Michael Shannon's character, the American prosecutor, he's about to give a speech, and he's shaking. He knows that there's alcohol in the cup, so he takes a swig of it himself in front of everyone.
Doesn't help him.
It doesn't help him, but I love that idea that, like, it's established and then there's a payoff for that. It's quite a good thing. But you're right, you know, Sir David Fife, he was on the British side of the prosecutors, wasn't he? And he was very good. And it takes him, he's not even in the movie that much, but Göring is essentially winning up until the point where Sir David gets up and goes, right, let me sort this guy out. And he rolls his sleeves up, and then he really lays to him the important questions.
So in reality, Jackson is having Göring on the stand for like a couple of days, and he's at the stage where he is so frustrated. The judges are basically telling him off. Göring is running circles that he kind of wants to give up with this cross-examination. And it's Fife in, you know, private conversation with Jackson who says, we cannot do that. We need to have another crack at this. And this is where Fife steps in.
Yes.
Now, what you're forgetting is the Soviets also had a prosecution person who was cross-examining. So did the French. But this movie almost works on the assumption that, like, they're basically not there.
No.
But it's weird, right? Because you physically see them there. You see the uniforms. You see everything there. But it's like they barely acknowledge them.
Because it's an American movie, obviously.
No, even in the Alec Baldwin movie, they had more acknowledgement of the Soviets and the French.
Oh, listen, there's no defense for that. Like, even, I remember Judgment in Nuremberg, which is the Kramer movie about this, you know, Nuremberg trials back.
But it's not about this trial.
It was very American.
It's a hypothetical one set a couple of years later.
Right.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But this is so ridiculously American. It's not funny.
It's very American.
In truth, the Americans did take the brunt for funding this.
Mm.
Like, the actual trial.
Right. Okay.
They paid for most of it.
Okay.
But the Soviets and the Germans at the end of the war hated each other. And I mean hated each other, because you have to remember the atrocities that both sides committed against each other.
And they had a pact signed between each other.
But that was pre the atrocities.
Yeah, of course. But that's just how ridiculous it was, right? Yeah.
You know, neither side agreed with the Geneva Convention, so they literally starved each POWs to death. Horrific. Their treatment of civilians on both sides, disgraceful.
Yeah.
Now, I would have loved to have seen a scene with a Soviet prosecutor who despised Göring and would have that hatred really go for each other,
and
because the stakes are so much higher when both countries have inflicted so much pain on each other.
Yeah, because
it's totally different with the Americans and the British, because America never got invaded by Germany, and the British, you had the Battle of Britain, and they sacrificed a lot, nothing in comparison to what the Soviets had to sacrifice. They never got invaded. But you don't see that psychological tension and drama and pain.
Yes.
When you have it just focused on the Americans and the British.
Yeah, and you're right, it's very one note. It feels like a lot of Europe is slightly ignored, because obviously it's an American movie made for, I'm imagining their whole point is to make it for an American audience. They very much not even in terms of language, they don't have really any other languages outside of English, and a little bit of German for Russell Crowe, which he does very well at.
I struggled with that in the sense of they had German and there were no subtitles in our cinema.
I think that obviously was a deliberate choice.
That was annoying.
I actually slightly support the choice. That's a weird thing. I know people find that quite annoying. I do support the choice of not putting subtitles for a foreign language outside of English if the scene or the story is supposed to be experienced from an English speaker's point of view. You're not supposed to understand.
But him in the chauffeur talking to each other, why wouldn't we get subtitles?
That is fair. There's probably some you have to have a good reason to do it, right? I suppose that's what
it just didn't. I get when you've got a translator translating in the room.
Oh yeah,
that makes total sense.
Yes,
there are scenes when there isn't that.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that's missing from this film. Kelley basically never met Göring without a translator. And I think that's what makes this so weird, is so many scenes where it's Kelley and Göring on their own basically never happened. Because there was always a third person in that cell.
Because I'll give you a hypothetical. I think it works when, say, you have a scene between the psychiatrist and Göring, and they're speaking in English. In the movie, they're speaking English. And so, but then at some point, Göring, as subterfuge, speaks German either to himself or to someone else. In that example, for a moment, it's probably worthwhile us not understanding that, because it's supposed to be us going, what is he doing? Why is he speaking German now suddenly? What is he communicating that I don't understand?
And that's fair. But a number of those scenes, it wasn't that.
That's true. Yeah. So again, it comes back to the reason, right? You need to have a very clear reason not to give subtitles. Or the problem is then the audience asks the question of why am I not being given some way of understanding it? I'm guessing the choice is so that if you have your Aussie actor speak German for, say, the first, how long is it? The first 20 minutes of the movie, I would say, he is speaking German.
It's a fair bit in German.
Yeah, he does it. I think in a way that's supposed to make the audience realize that Russell Crowe's not messing around, that he's committed.
I would have loved to have seen him do basically the whole film in German.
I don't think he would have wanted to do
it. And it annoys me a little bit that his scenes in the courtroom are in English.
Does it? Okay.
Because a critical bit of Nuremberg and why it was so problematic for Jackson is because Jackson would ask a question, it's got to be translated into German to Göring, Göring would answer it, and then it would be translated to Jackson.
Yes.
And you've got that taking that time. And the reason why that matters is because Göring could understand English and speak English, it gave Göring more time to think.
Yes.
And that proved to be a very big tactical advantage for him in the court.
Because he could formulate a response before.
The other thing that we're missing in this movie, which I think would have really helped with the group dynamic of the Nazis, is they would have lunch together every day and come up with their answers. Yeah. And go, how are we going to have a consistent line? Yes. And so eventually they had to stop. But the other thing that happened as part of that is Göring would bully them so badly that eventually he had to have lunch in isolation.
It's kind of crazy they let them have lunch together, actually, isn't
You
it?
let prisoners have lunch together
I suppose so, but in court, it's a strange one, I guess. I don't know how
because
that...
they're all on trial at the same time.
I suppose so.
And they have a right to be able to see other human beings.
Yeah, true.
It's not really fair to have them in isolation for, 11 months straight?
I mean,
now, other
yeah.
people would go, these guys committed such heinous crimes. Why shouldn't we?
I mean, in normal circumstances, I would be with you, but just Göring, you know?
But you got to go, if we're trying to pretend or create the facade that we're better than them, you've therefore got to give them certain rights and privileges.
That's very true. I mean, there is that question, the morality of like, if we're going to be a better society than what the Nazis did, then we need to, by extension, treat them better, you know? Yeah, very important. But of course, Sir David Fife gets his big moment, and Göring's sitting there and he thinks he has him, and then he asks him the key question, you know? And the key question really was, would you still support like Hitler if he was alive today? Which is a killer question because that dives into the brutal loyalty that Göring has to the Führer, to his Führer, and pits it against the morality of like, would you still have allowed the atrocities to happen? Because they're constantly asking him, did you actually commit these atrocities consciously? Was it through you or through not? But at the end of the day, if Göring still supports Hitler, he still supports those atrocities.
Completely.
It doesn't matter whether you have evidence for his involvement or not. The fact that he still has to say, yes, I would still support Hitler if he was here, is just, that's such a good way to make him guilty without even needing the paperwork to make that happen.
And he did try to pin a lot of it on Himmler.
Yes.
Because the SS took over the running of the camps.
Yeah.
But you're just like, you guys discussed
He brings up
details of the final solution.
Yeah.
What were you just like?
You know.
Of course you know.
You know, because he keeps on bringing up Heydrich as well. He talks about Heydrich all the time. Like it's, you know. It's
yeah,
all,
which was Himmler's kind of 2IC.
Yeah, it's like those guys, they ran it all, you know. I don't know, I wasn't sure. And it's like, no, that's BS.
So I think I struggle with this movie is there's 22 that go on the stand. We don't really get to see much of them. We get a little bit, like we got the one who commits suicide partway through the trial.
Yeah.
But what I would have loved to have seen in this movie is how someone like Speer got away with what he did.
Because when does Speer's trial happen? I mean, does that...
He's part of the 22.
Is he actually
So
there?
there's a scene in the movie where there's a chalkboard that lists all the 22 in alphabetical order, and you see Speer second from the
Really?
bottom.
I didn't know that.
He's in this trial.
Because so we're talking about Albert Speer, who was, you know, kind of Hitler's friend and architect, you know.
But more than that, like
Yeah.
he kind of eventually took over the economy. He was responsible ultimately for the slave labor camps.
Yeah.
Like a villain.
Yeah, and
Absolute villain. And he gets away with 20 years. That's it.
so in our downfall episode that we did, we talk about Speer quite a lot. I mean, he is one of the most fascinating and
Because he gets away with it. That's what makes him fascinating.
yeah, and he himself does write a book about his experiences. That is,
And makes a lot of money out of it.
Fascinating guy.
I would have wanted to see, because that to me is interesting, how you can play the game to get away with horrific crimes. That's more interesting to me than Kelley.
He's just not interesting, is he?
Or have a couple of scenes with Hess where Hess is just loopy.
I mean,
And yet they decide that he's still well enough to stand for trial and still well enough to get a lifetime in prison.
which kind of brings us to almost an ensemble movie, because this is not
But it should be an ensemble piece.
Yeah, because this is not an ensemble movie, really. You know, it's about, they really are going like, I mean, it is slightly at the end because it has to be, but it's very reluctant to be one, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it doesn't acknowledge what the story is. The story
Yeah.
is not Kelley v. Göring. They call it Nuremberg, therefore it has to be an ensemble piece.
Yeah, I think maybe we're on the same page. I think if the movie the whole way through is an ensemble piece, I think it really could work, because it wouldn't be it would be harder to get into because there's a lot of characters, but that is the truth. You're getting into the real thing. I think you're right. I think the movie, almost against its own will, has to become an ensemble movie by the end because it doesn't have any other choice. But you can almost see when they're writing it, they almost don't want it to do that. You know, they almost don't want it to be an ensemble movie, but I'm like, you should have done this from the beginning. This is what it is, right? It's all these people.
Or don't do the Nuremberg trials. Just do maybe a movie set over the month, which is just Göring and Kelley in the cell.
And it's a masterclass of acting and complexity and
Tell that story.
Tell that story, yeah. Because if you're going to do that, then, and it's going to be interview based, there's a lot of other movies that do that structure and they master it, focus on that, make that your battle of the wits, and then that's what your movie is. But this movie does neither, really.
Nope.
Yeah.
And that's his problem.
That's the problem.
I think someone who is excellent in this movie is a character named Elise Douglas. She is the secretary to Jackson. And they have a number of very good scenes together.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of discussing the legal principles and we're just making up new charges and how are we going to do this and pull it together.
Yeah.
I think she's fantastic because she is also clearly very intelligent.
Yes.
And their scenes are very good.
Very good. So played by Vren Schmidt.
And I would say so many other scenes when Kelley are not in them are better scenes.
Oh, yeah. As we talked about before, Kelley leaves the movie almost by the end. He's by the last act. He's not in it that much. I was actually relieved. I actually was like, oh, this is so much better now. This is so much more better without all of that strange, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this guy. Once that's gone, the movie has a slightly more it has more direction by that point. I thought to myself in the subsequent days since we've seen the movie, I did wonder, the framing device of using Kelley doesn't work. So if it doesn't work, what else do we do? So I thought to myself, do you nearly make this movie about the translator? You know what I mean? Do you tell this story?
I think his story is much more interesting.
Really? Yeah.
His parents were murdered in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
He has to every day be in cells and surrounded by these horrible human beings.
Right. Tell that story. Because you have to hear those stories, translate them as an official, get the language right. Your job is not to judge.
It's horrific.
It's to just relay. And I don't know, Mel, you know what I thought about is we did that movie, which I adore, Quo Vadis Ida.
Such a good film.
Such a good movie. Right? Different historical period, but about a translator. If you ever thought to yourself, well, maybe the translator is not dramatic enough, it's like, go watch Quo Vadis Ida. It's the most dramatic thing to have to relay language that's horrific and difficult and complex. It's fascinating how that works. If you're going to make a movie, maybe the translator is the person that would tell, to see Göring from the point of view of a translator who doesn't get to ask the questions, that's conflict. I mean,
I agree.
That could be amazing. So I go back to, I don't know, I just think Rami Malek was done dirty with this. So I just feel like he just didn't have the material nor a character that's really likable enough or clearly drawn enough for him to really hold on to. It's fascinating to me. I came out of this so conflicted about that. Yet I still walked out and I go, Russell Crowe, very good. Is he good enough to get a nomination? Because I know he really wants one. I don't know.
I don't think he is.
I don't think there's enough in this really to make that happen. Then this movie's a December movie, right? There is Oscar time.
Oh, it's Oscar bait all over it.
This is what they want. We're going for the big stuff. And it's very clear to me this movie's quite subpar to...
Oh, it's not worthy of an Oscar.
No. I don't think he's gonna get
I'd be
there,
shocked if he gets nominated.
Yeah.
But I am pleased to see Crowe doing good, interesting work again.
You don't want him playing priests anymore?
Exactly.
Yeah, just don't play any more priests for me.
I think he's back in his groove.
Yes.
And that is exciting.
It is. And he's at a point now, one of the things about him playing Göring is that he's, Crowe's in his 60s, I think now, but he's got that experience behind him. That when he plays Göring, he's relaxed. He's got that experience. He's enveloping a guy where...
Well, you can't play him if you're uptight.
He's not even trying in a way. He's just so authentically chilled and in that zone that I thought this is 30, 40 years of acting experience all being drawn together for this role. And it's such a pleasure to watch that. It's just a shame all the stuff around him outside of some of the secondary characters just don't really hold up, really. At the foundations of the movie, maybe between the two of us, we agree, they're kind of wrong, right?
I think that's right. However, It's such an important story.
Mm.
Nuremberg, accountability, bringing people to justice. We want people to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And think about it. Like, it's too easy just to go, this was an average movie, don't think, don't ponder.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we need films like this to be made.
And even under the circumstances of maybe a subpar movie, you're still moved by the themes. Like, there's still, like you said, maybe the most moving thing in the movie is the footage they show in the court. I mean, it's
real footage.
Yeah, you have an emotional reaction to it, and you come out and you go, well, the movie makes me feel it. You know, the movie's making me feel, and that's because the subject's so vital. Ooh.
Now, what is the next episode coming out?
Oh, well, we've teased Gladiator. What are we, over a year? We've been teasing this one.
It's so close.
We're almost there. So we're sorry we didn't get Gladiator out yet, but it is coming next.
And Gary has nearly finished the editing.
I'm nearly done, so it's sounding very good. So
Excellent.
If you haven't subscribed already, let me sell it to you now, because we've got Gladiator coming. So it's a very good episode. So yeah, that'll be coming in December. So very, very soon.
Excellent.
Very good. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to everyone. Don't forget, if you do want, you can like, share, and subscribe on all of our social media. If you haven't subscribed to us on your podcast app, please do, so you can see a notification whenever we post a new episode. Even if you want to, if you're still living in 2005, you can send us an email if you want, if you have comments.
We love hearing from people.
We do, all the time, and it's only us. We do read everyone's emails, so if you do send us anything, please send it to realmoviesfakehistory@gmail.com. If you've got a suggestion or a comment or just anything you'd like to send us at all, please send it through. That would be amazing. And we will see you on the next one.
Sounds good.